The final shape brought with it a pretty significant patch that buffed and nerfed almost everything across the board. One buff I haven't seen anyone talk about yet is Truth. Bungie decided to give this thing a pretty substantial buff in the fact that it got 3 extra reserve rockets as well as getting a detonation damage increase to make up for the fact it doesn't do impact damage. I'm going to put it to the test and see if it will compete with something as beloved as Apex Predator. I will get all my numbers from the Grasp of Avarice Ogre so everything will be comparable. Without further ado, my name is Trig and let's get into it. To start off, we're not going to be using any buffs or debuffs to go with this testing. I will throw in a few damage calcs at the end, but for the base damage testing that we're about to do, I will not be using anything to increase or decrease the damage. These will be base values of each rocket, and then we will do math from then on there out to figure out the damage values. Starting off, we're just going to shoot a few rockets into them to get a base value, and if you guys notice, it's 82,772. That is the value we're going to work with our numbers. Swapping over to Apex here, we have two values, an impact value of 24,500 and a detonation value of 78,043. Starts off not looking too good for Truth, but let's check out the reserves real fast. Using triple reserves for both, we can see that Apex Predator has a total of 9 reserve rockets, and Truth has a total of 14. Now what we're going to do is multiply the base damage value from each rocket as well as the reserves. So for Truth, we're going to do that base damage times 14, which would equal 1,158,808. And for Apex, it would equal 922,887. Looking at the values now, Truth looks like a fierce competitor to Apex. But we're not going to stop here because now we got to figure out DPS, and I chose to go for the value of DPS over 10 seconds. So the first thing we need to figure out is how many rockets can we shoot in a 10-second period. Little side note about Predator, I am using reconstruction on it to make it shoot a little bit faster. I figure most people have this perk on their weapon anyways, so why not? The answer is 6 for Truth and 5 for Predator. You can argue that I could have got that 6 rocket off on Predator if I used like loaders or something, but we had no external mods to go into this other than reserves, so we are going to say 5 for Predator and 6 for Truth. Now to figure out DPS from that 10-second test, we need to take the base values of each rocket and multiply it by how many rockets were shot. So for Truth, we're going to do 82,772 once again, multiplied by 6. That'll give us a value of 496,632, and then we need to divide that by 10 so we can get damage per second, and that'll give us 49,663. Now for Apex, we need to take the base value of 102,543 and multiply that by 5. This will give us a value of 512,715, and to get the DPS, we need to divide that by 10 once again. This will make it go down to 51,272. Now this does mean, unfortunately, Truth still does not beat the base value of Apex Predator. But there is one contender that could make it beat it just by a little bit, and that is the artifact mod Expanding Abyss. This makes its void weapons do extra damage to weakened targets. So for quick calculations, it does 35% extra damage to an enemy affected by Tractor Cannon. Tractor is typically a 30% increase. Expanding Abyss makes it do 35. So if we do quick calculations for that and just multiply the DPS values by 1.35 and 1.3, Truth will be doing 67,045 damage per second with Expanding Abyss active, and Apex Predator will be doing 66,653. This does mean Truth is beating Apex in base damage, well, base including Expanding Abyss. But this is where I have to remind you, Apex is a legendary weapon. It will be able to take advantage of traits on weapons. So something like bait and switch, which is a pretty common practice on Apex Predator. Almost everyone has a reconstruction and a bait and switch roll of Apex Predator. That's an extra 30% value that Apex gets that I did not throw into calculations. Apex also gets to take advantage of Wolfpack rounds. So at the end of the day, Truth is not even close to beating Apex in my mind. Numbers speak for themselves. Well, I guess if you just look at these numbers, Truth is winning, but trust me when I say Apex is far superior to Truth. Even if you take Apex's total number and say Truth is higher, you can just add an extra 26% for Wolfpack rounds to Apex and an extra 30 for bait and switch, and Apex just beats it in total damage too. On top of that, it doesn't take up an exotic slot, so it lets you have a bunch of freedom for your build. So Bungie, how about we keep buffing this thing? We'll see you in 6 months when you get another buff, possibly? Who knows? That's it for the video today. I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope all my numbers were correct. If I miscalculated anything, let me know down in the comments. And yeah, y'all are wonderful. See you in the next one.